Problem in life, a story of perseverance. Once upon a time in a small town, there was a young man named Ryan. Ryan was just like any other person who had big dreams and aspirations. He was optimistic, hardworking, and believed that life would reward him for his dedication. However, as time went on, Ryan began to face one challenge after another. It all started when he was in high school. Ryan had always been a bright student, but no matter how hard he worked, his grades didn't reflect his efforts. While others seemed to excel with ease, he was left struggling. The constant pressure from teachers, parents, and even his own thoughts pushed him into a state of doubt. Why isn't anything working for me? He thought to himself as he sat in his room, staring at his grades. His dreams of becoming a successful doctor felt far away. His classmates, who had breezed through the exams, were already receiving college offers from prestigious universities. But Ryan's life seemed to be going in the opposite direction. He felt isolated, and this feeling grew stronger as he continued to watch others around him succeed. He even began to question whether his dreams were even possible. Maybe he wasn't cut out for this. One evening, his father noticed the change in Ryan's demeanor. His father, a simple man who had worked hard all his life, saw his son's frustration. He sat down next to him and said, "Ryan, I know things are tough right now, but I want you to understand something. Life will always test you. It will throw obstacles your way to see if you are strong enough to push through. But remember this, it's not the challenges that define you, it's how you face them." Ryan, frustrated and confused, looked at his father and replied, "But no matter how hard I try, nothing works. Why do I keep failing?" His father smiled gently and said, "Ryan, life is not about avoiding problems. It's about learning to overcome them. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to grow, to become better. If you can stay persistent, if you can keep working despite the setbacks, you will reach your goal." Ryan wasn't sure if he understood everything his father was saying, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't give up now. His father's words stuck with him like a seed planted in fertile soil. The next day, Ryan decided to take a different approach. Instead of focusing on what he couldn't control, like the grades of his classmates or the judgment of others, he focused on what he could do. He started taking extra tutoring lessons, worked harder on his assignments, and stopped comparing himself to others. Months passed, and the struggles didn't disappear. In fact, things seemed to get harder at times. But Ryan remembered his father's words and pressed on. Slowly, the hard work began to pay off. He understood more, retained information better, and his grades slowly improved. But the biggest transformation wasn't just in his academic performance, it was in his mindset. He began to understand that life was never going to be easy. The path to success was never a straight line. There would always be ups and downs, but it was his persistence, his ability to keep moving forward, that would ultimately define his success. As Ryan graduated high school, he received an acceptance letter from the university of his dreams. It wasn't because things were easy for him, but because he had stayed persistent when the world seemed to tell him to give up. Years later, as he stood at his graduation ceremony, Ryan remembered that moment with his father. He had come a long way, but he knew the true lesson. Life will always present challenges, but it is the perseverance, the strength to face adversity, and the courage to keep going that will determine your success. Moral of the story: in life, you will always face problems and obstacles, but success is not about avoiding those challenges. It's about how you deal with them. The road to success is never easy, but with persistence, hard work, and the ability to learn from failure, you will ultimately reach your destination. A few years later, after his college graduation, Ryan found himself working at a prestigious hospital. But even here, life didn't stop throwing challenges at him. There were days when things didn't go well. There were patients who didn't survive. And there were moments when he felt completely overwhelmed by the weight of his responsibilities. The very next day, Ryan went back to work with renewed vigor. He knew that success wasn't about being perfect. It was about being persistent. It was about getting back up no matter how many times life knocked him down. Ryan's journey was not easy, but it shaped him into the man he became. He realized that the greatest victories in life come not from avoiding pain, but from embracing it, learning from it, and growing stronger because of it. Final message. Ryan's story teaches us that every problem and obstacle we face is not a roadblock, but a stepping stone to success. We all face difficult moments in life, but it is how we respond to those challenges that defines who we are. Life is not about avoiding failure or pain. It's about how you rise from it and keep going. If you want to achieve greatness, you have to be willing to endure the struggles that come with it. Don't let life's problems define you. Let your persistence and determination be what defines your success.